You're watching the Cultural Connections Podcast, 2020 Election Update. Coming up, we will have the latest information on this historic election. This is the Cultural Connections 2020 Election Update.
Proud citizens like you help build this country, and together we are taking back our country.
The country is ready. The country is ready. But not with Donald Trump as president.
And good afternoon. My name is Brian Ives, and I am the producer of the Cultural Connections podcast. We're coming back on here on our scheduled live here at 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time, and we are coming to you live on 4 different platforms. Before I get into what we're going to be talking about today on our election special update here on the Cultural Connections podcast, I wanted to bring you up to date on remind you how our live is working. So for those of you joining us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, please be aware that the live feed you are seeing is via Zoom technology right now. Therefore, unfortunately, we are not able to see your comments come in as frequently as we'd like, even though we're still going to try. So again, if you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, please be aware that we are not going to be able to see your comments come through as fast as we would like to see them come through, but we're going to still try to see them as often as we can. If you are someone that would like to see your comments come in and would like to hear your comments read and have a 100% guarantee, then go over to our Instagram page, Cultural Connections 29 on Instagram, and comment live there. This is why I'm holding my phone in my hand and I am recording actually the screen here with my phone, my computer screen here. So if you would like to comment live and be part of the discussion that we're going to be having for the part of the second part of this video, then please go over to Instagram, as you will definitely have your comments be read live and be able to interact with me more clearly over there. So the first part of first part of today is going to be, again, recapping the election, going through the results and going through with what we have basically determined as our final result in a way. Again, the results obviously by any means are not final, and I want to echo that they are not final. These are our own projections here with Cultural Connections that we have made, and that's what we're about to show you here on screen. Then after that, we're going to do a little bit of an analysis looking at all of the different media outlets from CNN to Fox News to ABC to CBS to NBC News, on all of them and the numbers that they have and where the race currently still stands. Even though we do have a president-elect, we're going to look at the numbers on the outstanding states right now, which continue to be North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona. Exception with Arizona, which has been called by Fox News and the Associated Press. However, no other media outlet has yet to make that call. We, again, personally here with Cultural Connections have made the projection from our own analysis that we've done and on our own research. We have called the state of Arizona for President-elect Joe Biden, and we'll explain our thinking too at that point. The second half of this video is going to be more of a discussion base, and that's where we invite you to join in. And there is no right or wrong here, and I am not trying to get into a political heated discussion. I'm trying to share what I think is important, to say the least. I think we're going to talk about many different things on what this election was, what this election wasn't, what this past year has been, and much more to that. And I think that this will be an important discussion, and I hope you will join with me in the discussion. If at any time anyone would like to actually join with me live on this, go over to Instagram and send me a comment on this video, and I will either bring you live through Instagram and have you live with me that way, if you would like to. Again, that's if you would like to. Or you can also get a Zoom, or I'll send you a link to the Zoom link that I'm using for this platform, and you can come on that way too. But again, that's not saying you have to, but if people would like to, I'm opening it up to that today as well. So without further ado, let's go right now into the results and go in with what we know for the results so far for this election. So again, this was, as I keep reiterating over and over, this is the Electoral College map as of Tuesday night before the election results started coming in. This is what we were looking at, what we were thinking on the way things were leaning. And again, obviously, this map is pretty much self-explanatory to where things actually ended up. And we're going to get into that right now. So that we're going to still say, what are we watching for still? We're still, as I say, watching for North Carolina, Arizona, and Georgia. That's to say the fact, though, that here again, independently, Cultural Connections has made the projections for those 3 states, and we'll get into that as time goes on. We can first off make the projection that Joe Biden is the 46th president-elect of the United States, making history with his vice president pick, Kamala Harris, who is the first female vice president-elect of the United States as well. We can project that Joe Biden will win the state of Pennsylvania. This is the state that ultimately led to his victory in getting enough votes to electoral college votes to get to 270. We can project that Joe Biden will win the state of Nevada. We can project that Joe Biden will win the state of Massachusetts. We can project that Joe Biden will win the state of Maryland. We can project that Joe Biden will win the state of Maine. We can project that Joe Biden will win the state of Vermont. We can project that Joe Biden will win the state of Virginia. We can project that Joe Biden will win the state of New York. We can project that Joe Biden will win the state of New Jersey. We can project that Joe Biden will win the state of Delaware. We can project that Joe Biden will win the state of Washington, D.C., or not the state of Washington, D.C., the area, Washington, D.C., I should say, the District of Columbia. We can project that President Trump will win the state of Oklahoma. We can project that President Trump will win the state of Kentucky. We can project that President Trump will win the state of Arkansas. We can project that President Trump will win the state of Mississippi. We can project that President Trump will win the state of Louisiana. We can project that President Trump will win the state of Alabama. We can project that President Trump will win the state of Wyoming. We can project that President Trump will win the state of North Dakota. We can project that President Trump will win the state of North Dakota. We can project that President Trump will win the state of West Virginia. We can project that President Trump will win the state of Idaho. We can project that President Trump will win the state of Utah. We can project that President Trump will win the state of Nebraska. We can project that President-elect Biden will win the state of Illinois. We can project that President Biden will win the state of Minnesota. We can project that President Biden will win the state of Colorado. We can project that President Biden will win the state of New Mexico. We can project that President-elect Biden will win the state of Oregon. We can project that President-elect Biden will win the state of Washington. We can project that President-elect Biden will win the state of Hawaii. We can project that President-elect Biden will win the biggest prize of them all, California. We can project that President-elect Biden will win the state of Michigan. We can project that President-elect Biden will win the state of Wisconsin. We can project that President-elect Biden will win the state of Arizona. We can project that President-elect Biden will win the state of New Hampshire. We can project that President Trump will win the state of Florida. We can project also that President Trump will win the state of Texas. We can project that President-elect Biden will win the state of Georgia. And we can project that President Trump, I should say, will win the state of North Carolina. And we can project that President Trump will win the state of Alaska. All right. So what I want to do now, again, and I'm going to try to keep my screen showing here as best as I can here with the with my phone, because I don't want to have to hold it every single time, is again, basically, we want to look at the different media outlets and again, where the numbers currently still stand in these contested states. Again, as if you're just tuning in here on Cultural Connections, we have independently called the states of Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina for in this race. Alaska, just to also clarify as well, has not been called yet either, but we can project, we pretty much know the direction Alaska is going in. The matter with Alaska is not that it's too close to call. It's a matter that their votes are coming in very slowly, and that's just what's going on with the state of Alaska. So without further ado, let's get into exactly where the numbers stand on all of these different media outlets. And that's what I'm showing you right now here live on your screen. So let's start off here. I want to go down to the state of Georgia right now, where again, the race continues to be too close to call. President Biden, President-elect Biden is now leading the state of Georgia with 2,465,501 votes to President Trump's 2,455,305 votes. So it's very, very close there. But there are Democratic counties still where Biden keeps edging out very slowly on top. We are still at around 99% of the vote in because they're now counting those provisional ballots, which what we've seen has been a mix, but most of them seem to be going in the favor of Joe Biden, and that is what's giving him that edge here in Georgia. We are aware that there will likely be a recount once all the numbers are in here, once all the votes are in here in Georgia, it will likely be going to a recount. Over here in the state of Arizona right now, which again, we have also called for here in this state, Vice President Biden, this was last updated as of noontime today. President-elect Biden now leads the state here of Arizona with 1,631,286 votes to President Trump's 1,612,733 votes. It appears here now, looking at this, that Joe Biden has actually extended just a little bit more on his lead in this state. Let's do the math here for you, and I'll tell you exactly how many votes separate these two. And I'm going to leave this here so you can see the numbers. Oop, sorry. That didn't happen the way I wanted it to. And let's go back. I don't want to. Okay, so you can see the number. Actually. Okay, so you can see the number there. Okay, this is not working out the way I want it to do. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Okay, that's what I wanted. All right, so Joe Biden has the, as you see here, has the 1,631,286. minus 1612 733. 6 minus 3 is 3, minus 3 is 765. Okay, so here is where this race currently stands here in the state of Georgia. To our Instagram users, you'll be able to see this here first. And that is that Joe Biden is currently leading the state of Arizona with 18,553 votes. That is still a small amount, but again, every time we see votes come in, we see the fact here that Joe Biden continues to hold a little bit of an edge. And again, what we saw recently, and this is the big part to this, here is Maricopa County, and this is the big county here in Arizona that we're watching ever so closely, as you can see. And in order for President Trump to win the state of Arizona, he needs to get at least 52 to 55% of this vote every time new numbers come in. And the latest numbers that came in, again, and this was as of 11 a.m. this morning, was when these numbers came in, and this is 11 a.m. Eastern time here. The last time when they had numbers came in, President Trump was at 48% at that now, which is where he is now. And President-elect Biden is extending on that lead here in Maricopa County. I think if we see this continue, it will be safe to say that, yes, Joe Biden has won the state. Again, as we've said here on Cultural Connections, we have independently called the state of Arizona, along with the network of Fox News and the Associated Press, which also have called the state of Arizona for President-elect Biden. So if you are wanting to know exactly that, where does the Electoral College stand as of right now, if Joe Biden indeed did take the state of Arizona, well, he'd be at 290 electoral votes right now to Trump's 214 electoral votes. Now, again, presuming here that Joe Biden also takes the state of Georgia, which is again going to go to recount. Joe Biden would then be at 290 plus 16 is 306, which actually coincidentally is exactly the same electoral college vote that President Trump had 4 years ago in 2016. But obviously that's not this time around. President Trump likely will take the state of North Carolina with its 15 electoral votes, which would put him up at 228, and then he would get the state of Alaska at 229, 232, giving him 231 electoral votes. Obviously, not there what he needs for to win the presidential election. As of today, we do still know here that President Trump has still yet to concede the presidential race. We watched and I'm going to get into this more in a minute, and I want to talk. This is what our second part of this live is about. Is that we know that President Trump still has yet to concede the race, and President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris gave a beautiful, wonderful speech last night to the nation, a primetime speech at 8 p.m. That was carried by, that just was remarkable to watch. And again, I'll get into that in a minute, but I want to just show you, just so there's matchup here on the other network so we can see here. Arizona, as I just said, again, as you're seeing, the numbers are exactly what I just showed you, the 1,631,286 votes. Again, this is 97% of the vote in. Right now in Arizona, it is similar along the lines of these provisional ballots, mail-in ballots that are being counted. Whereas here in Arizona, usually they heavily favor more of President Trump. However, right now, President Trump needs to regain ground there in order to take the state. And right now, he's only at 48% of the vote in Maricopa County, which is the biggest county in Arizona. And that's what we're watching right now. And these other counties that are Democratic thresholds are hugely Democratic thresholds. Hold on one moment here, folks. Sorry about that. But yes, so that's what we look at here is the state. If President Trump does not gain more momentum back here in the state, he will likely not be able to carry the state of Arizona with him either. And that is what we're continuing to watch. And I just want to again go through this to show you NBC here, similarly along the same lines. Again, they have the same exact numbers. Let's take a look at North Carolina. I did not do that yet, where President Trump continues to hold that steady lead now with 98% of the vote in, 135,916 votes. Hold on one. Sorry about that. Again, here is what we're seeing is that President Trump is still leading in the state here, but again, this is still very, very close. We have not gotten much updated numbers here out of North Carolina. They're still at around 98% of the vote, but President Trump is. Hold on one moment. And that is what we're continuing to look at here and what we're watching here. And again, it is likely that President Trump will take the state of North Carolina as his lead continues, but it just is still at the moment too close to call, given the fact that we have 135,916 votes that are still outstanding at the moment. That's why this race cannot be called. Let's take a look here also at CBS News, as I promised I would show you as well. And again, here's their last numbers of North Carolina as of 19 hours ago. So this was yesterday. Still no new numbers there. Our last numbers from Georgia came in around 5 hours ago, which is again where it currently stands. That it is still a very close race here in in Georgia, and that is something we're continuing to watch. But again, President-elect Biden continuing to lead. In Arizona, the last numbers came in 54 minutes. Oops. Hold on one moment here, folks. Hold on one. Sorry. All right. So again, Arizona, the numbers last came in. Sorry about that. I'm getting texts here at the same time. Usually, again, this doesn't happen while we're live. Again, as I've said, that this is how things shape up right now. Now, what I want to do here further, and I'm going to switch this camera back to me so we can have on Instagram, and I'm going to take off this with here on Zoom, our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter platform. I mentioned last night I had posted a couple of questions, that I had asked actually on the live video, which was late. I know it was late last night, early this morning, whichever you want to call it. At around 1 a.m, we did a live update, and with that, I asked questions like, "What does democracy mean to you? What does the First Amendment mean to you? How has this COVID-19 pandemic impacted your life?" If we look closely at what this election was all about, what do we think led to Joe Biden's win? And I think the one big thing that we saw in numerous polls was the handling of this pandemic. And we had a leader who did not lead this country in a time when it is needed most. And I think that's the big fact here. If you can't lead this country properly during a time when your country needs you most, then you're not fit to lead this country. And again, I'm not trying to stir up controversy with the with Republican voters that voted for Trump. I understand it's your right to vote for whoever you want. You have the right, just like I have the right to vote for whoever I want. We all have the right to vote for whoever we want. But does that mean that, for example, on Wednesday night, when they were counting ballots in Arizona, for protesters to show up at a counting location with guns and to block these hardworking people that are counting ballots and threaten their lives with guns just because the result isn't going the way you want? I mean, think about that. What kind of message does this send? This is a democracy. This is not a dictatorship. And from everything that we've seen these past 4 years, in my opinion, and again, I'm entitled to my opinion, and I'm sharing my opinion with you now on this podcast, is that President Trump, instead of bringing this country together, divided this country. And I don't see any example of him trying to bring people together. These examples can be from his rallies, to having rallies in the middle of a pandemic where now over 200,000 people have died from this virus, this deadly, contagious virus. And this president refuses to wear a mask, refuses to embrace masks, but puts the blame on other people. That's not what a leader does, in my opinion. If you're a true leader, you accept responsibility. Don't put the blame on anyone else. Don't put the blame, as President Trump did, on China for this virus. This virus has nothing to do with China. It has to do with the leadership of this country and how we contain it. China is not responsible for containing the virus in the United States of America. China is responsible for containing the virus in China. And they did that in China. They have contained it better there than we have here in the United States. What we are going to see, I believe, from President-elect Biden, is true leadership that this country ever so needs. Look at yesterday, after it was officially announced that Joe Biden won the presidential election. We saw people actually happy for once, that were dancing in the streets of Boston, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Atlanta, Georgia, Los Angeles, all over the country. People were dancing in the streets with masks on, like they should, and just thrilled and happy to know that we have a true leader actually taking the office of the White House in January. We know that tomorrow, President-elect Biden will be announcing a coronavirus task force to help get us ease the pain of this pandemic. This pandemic has not just impacted the lives of so many people because people have gotten sick with the virus and people have died from the virus, but it's also put such a strain on our economy. And don't try to tell me that the economy is getting better and that this virus is going away, because why are the numbers then going up on this virus if the virus is getting better and it's going to magically go away? Things don't. If we are in reality here, things like that don't happen. It's not logical to make those kind of accusations. Let's also now, besides this pandemic, let's talk about this election and what we have seen from a president who still today, Sunday, November 8th, 2020, and it's 1:30 in the afternoon here, refuses to concede the election. What does that mean? And we have a president that, instead of embracing the fact of this election and embracing a democracy, is saying that he was cheated from this election, that there was illegal votes. Let's take a look right now. I want to show this at President Trump's Twitter account. I know some of you probably saying, why is Brian showing this to me? I don't really want to see it. I think it's important. This is where we're at right now. President Trump tweeting a quote earlier from Newt Gingrich 4 hours ago that reads, "We believe these people are thieves. The big city machines are corrupt. This was a stolen election." Best pollster in Britain wrote this morning that this was clearly a stolen election. That's impossible to imagine that Biden outran Obama in some of these states. It doesn't matter if Biden outran Obama. People wanted to see real leadership in this country. This is democracy. This is about you and I voting in this election. It's about voting for who we want. What happened? Obviously, people are upset and looking at this conspiracy theory of the fact that on Tuesday night, President Trump was leading in the state of Pennsylvania by several 100,000 votes. He was leading in the state of in the state of Georgia by several 100,000 votes on Tuesday night. What happened after Tuesday night? Well, what we know is that on Tuesday night, and I'm going to stop sharing that screen there of his Twitter account. We know that by Wednesday, we started to see the mail-in ballots start getting counted. And what we know from President-elect Biden's campaign is that he urged people to vote by mail to play safe. And that's where President Biden won a majority of the vote by these mail-in ballots. There's nothing illegal about mailing in your ballot. You can track your ballot. I mailed my ballot in, and I'm able to track my ballot. I was able to track and confirm that it was indeed counted. That's what the web is for, being able to see this information. If you didn't want a mail-in ballot and yet you got one somehow still, you could have brought that ballot to the polls on Election Day and still voted in person on Election Day last Tuesday. But yet we have people here that believe that these mail-in ballots are illegal. There's nothing illegal about them. Or as the president says, that dead people voted for Biden. Well, that's next to impossible, because as we've learned from the Secretary of States from Pennsylvania, the Secretary of States in Georgia, the Attorney General in Pennsylvania, is that they were very rigorously watching this election and making sure that there were no errors that happened. So to say the fact and make these wild accusations doesn't add up. And if I don't mind if you make these accusations, but at least provide actual factual proof. If you can't provide factual proof, then you don't have a case. As I said last night at 1 a.m, that's like going to court and saying that this person to my left, here, stole $20,000 from me. But I don't have proof that he stole $20,000 from me. I'm just saying it. I'm saying it out of my mouth right now that this person sitting to my left stole $20,000 from me and I want it back. But I have no proof of the fact that that person stole $20,000. It could be the person over here to my right, or it could be the person behind me that stole the $20,000. But I have no proof of it. You can't bring up these type of allegations without proof. That's how the legal process works. It's not about your mouth or my mouth. It's about the proof and the actual evidence. And so far, up to today, we still have not seen any evidence of illegal voting or fraudulent voting or anything of the kind. And I would like to understand what evidence you have. If there is evidence, we will listen to the evidence. We will all listen to the evidence and we will move forward as a country together with the evidence. But right now, there is no evidence. Let me put it to a different way for you. If President Trump won this election, would we be talking today about voter fraud or illegal voting? No. 4 years ago, President Trump won this election with Russia's interference. We knew very vividly that Russia was interfering with this election to aid the campaign of President Donald Trump. There are several instances of it. We have the evidence of that. We have the proof of that. We don't have proof today of this so-called election fraud that's being talked about. In 2016, and then after President Trump won the election, he refused to accept the fact that Russia did interfere in the election to aid him in helping him win the 2016 election. Instead, he took Putin's word for it and said that if Putin says he didn't interfere in the election, then he didn't interfere. Putin is a dictator in Russia that has killed journalists. Is that is that what we want for the United States of America? I personally am in the field of journalism and obviously doing this podcast for you. And I admire all of those journalists. As I said late last night, I admire all of those journalists that worked ever so hard to report this election. This has been long, tedious hours. Some of the rest of us citizens here got to sleep overnight while these ballots were being counted, and got to sleep while these people like George Stephanopoulos of ABC News, or Anderson Cooper of CNN, or Wolf Blitzer of CNN, or any of these anchors here on any of these news outlets we got to sleep. Well, they continue to work around the clock. George Stephanopoulos, for example, of ABC News, was on Jimmy Kimmel Live the other night, and Jimmy Kimmel asked him, "How much sleep have you gotten this week?" And George Stephanopoulos' answer was, I've gotten so far 14 hours of sleep. That's it. 14 hours in a period of 5 days is not a lot. It's incredible to see the work of these people. These are regular citizens like you and I, but their job is to come out there like what I'm doing to you with bringing results, and to actually and to present this news. That's what this is here. And yet we have a president, and that's where the next thing here ties in that I want to bring into. We've had a president for the last 4 years that thinks it's okay to attack the free press. And that's not okay by any means to attack the free press. We live in a country where we have a First Amendment, which is the right to free speech. Free speech meaning that we report that is part of that is the news media being able to go to the White House and listen to a press conference and report the news and to investigate stories. And yet this president, instead of every time there was something bad about him on the news, something bad that had happened, he would embrace it as fake news, or again, as I allude to, would not take responsibility. It is so important that we talk about this idea of taking responsibility for your actions. I feel like it's something we learn as we grow. The other thing here is that we've had a president that has used Twitter as his medium of connecting with his base, by writing tweets that are disparaging, dividing this country. What he said the other night, what President Trump said the other night on national television on Friday night, was not only disgusting, it was dangerous. To again continue this fact that there were illegal votes, fraudulent activity in this election is dangerous, because you don't have the proof. And instead, what you're doing is you are riling up your supporters, like we saw in Arizona with those people carrying guns in front of a counting office. Another example with this would be what we saw on Wednesday night in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, where the FBI and the police have unfolded a plot for where 4 men were going to storm the Pittsburgh Convention Center where they were counting votes. That is what, hold on just a moment. One second. And instead, so what happened was the police unfolded this plot where they were going to actually storm into, these people were going to storm into this convention center with guns and shoot up this convention center just because they weren't happy with the way the results were going and claiming that there were illegal votes. Again, I go back to my same wording that I've been using a lot right now. Proof, 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 proof. If we don't have proof of this, then how do you expect to move forward? The president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, continues to make this unsubstantial claim that there was voter fraud and that there and illegal voting in this election, and keeps coming out on television in Pennsylvania to say this, but has yet to provide any ounce of proof. And the same thing, and then in Nevada, for example, we saw similar lines of people showing up again to a place where they were counting ballots with guns. What makes it be, if this is a democracy, why do we show up to places where they're counting ballots with guns to make it, to send, what message are we sending here? Are we sending a message that this is not a democracy anymore? I mean, because clearly we live in one of the greatest countries here in the world. The United States is one of the greatest countries in the world because of its freedoms. And this freedom could easily be taken away, easily, if we don't, if we continue acting the way we did. And that's the fact here. Yes, the president has the right to pursue his legal challenges, but those legal challenges are not going to get far without any proof. And again, to this day, we have not seen 1 ounce of proof. The only proof I can say that I have seen, and it's not proof, is looking at these right-wing media sites that are claiming false narrative information. For example, of a so-called whistleblower in that is in Nevada, claimed that they weren't even really, that they were doubly counting votes and doing things strangely in counting votes in Nevada. There's no proof of that still, even if this whistleblower says that, because this is one person saying that. You need multiple people to say the same thing. And yet these things are on video. So we have video of it. And it clearly, from what's been seen on the video in these counting centers, it doesn't show that. So I really want to push on the fact here for people to think about this for a minute and to really think about this election. Think about what this election means. Think about the fact is that if President Trump won this election, would we be talking about voter fraud today? No, we probably would not be talking about voter fraud today. I don't think we would. Would we be talking about illegal voting? No, I don't think we would. Would Biden supporters be upset that Vice President Biden is not the president-elect if that happened? Yes, that would. But would people be going out to the streets and celebrating a Trump win? I don't think so. I don't think we'd be seeing the same of what we're seeing, of what we saw yesterday and going into today. I don't think so. This is the purpose of voting. The purpose of voting is for the American people to speak on what they believe, who should be our next leader, who should be our next senator, who should be our next congressman, who should be our next governor, who should be the next mayor of the city, or if they live in a city, who should be their next city council member, who should be their next state senator, who should be whatever the case is. But that's what the purpose of voting is for. The purpose of voting is not to be divisive. And what this President Trump has done has been more divisive in the last 4 years than any other president in history, in my opinion. Again, this is my opinion. You watching this have a right to your opinion. Absolutely, by any means. You have a right to your opinion. Absolutely. But if you are going to state a fact, you need to have proof to back up that fact. That's how this works, because right now, the legal challenges that President Trump is pursuing have no basis behind them, because not just the media, but in these states, the people in Pennsylvania, the people in Georgia, the people in Nevada, the people in Michigan, where there's another court order, have spoken. Right now, President Trump had legal action out in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, and Michigan. He is issuing this because, again, he's claiming that the election was stolen from him. What proof is out there to show that this election was stolen? The only proof that shows that this election was stolen shows that Vice President Biden, now President-elect Biden, won the popular vote and won the Electoral College. That's what happened here. If we can't accept the results and we can't come together as a country, like Joe Biden said last night, then what kind of country are we? As Joe Biden eloquently put it, and he's put it numerous times throughout the campaign, and he put it out again last night, that he is not going to govern the United States like blue states and red states, but he's going to govern the United States like all United States of America. It's not blue state or a red state. It's the United States of America. And that's what this is. This is not about a blue state or a red state. This is about the United States of America and moving forward. So while you may be a Trump supporter watching this, if you are, and you're not happy with the election results, I understand. I know what that feels like. We've all felt loss, but you can't win everything in life. And that is the big factor. And again, I just want to show, because President Trump just tweeted it out again, and I do feel the need to show this to you because I think it's important, and I'm bringing it back on here because I think it's important. And this continues to be Trump's continuous message. And I'm going to share my screen here on Instagram here too. And Trump just tweeted out saying, "Since when does the mainstream media call who our next president will be? We have all learned a lot in the last 2 weeks." First off, that is a false claim there, because the media does not call who the next president is. The media does not elect who the next president is. However, sorry about that on Instagram. The media, all of the members of the media, the people that are on television who are ordinary citizens like you and I, also get to vote in this election. So their vote does count too. But they're not the ones deciding this election. It's you and I that are deciding this election. And we are the ones that make that decision, not the media. The media is only presenting the facts. That's what the media is for. The media is not fake news, as President Trump calls it. If you don't like a story about you, that doesn't mean it's not that it's true or not. It is the media. It is the news. That is how journalism works. Journalism reports the facts. If you can't own up to it and take responsibility, then you're not gonna be successful in life. And from what we're seeing here with this president, he did not get a second term because people were not pleased with his leadership in this pandemic. His way of handling this pandemic was to say that the election was stolen from that the pandemic is going away, and that the virus is going away. I ask again, what proof out there is to show you that this virus is going away? All of the scientists, including Dr. Anthony Fauci, the director at the National Institute for Infectious Disease at the National Institute of Public Health, who was part of the president's coronavirus task force and has since been muzzled because the president didn't like what he was saying, says that this is going to be a harsh winter that we're heading into. We have seen over the past several days now, while this election has been going on, cases in the United States have climbed over 100,000 cases. And yet, this president continues to send the message that the virus is going away. Can you show me, if you're a Trump supporter out there, Show me how this virus is going away. And don't deter from the question. Show me how this virus is going away. That's what I'd like to know. I'd like to know how you can say that this virus is going away. Because if it's going away, then I want to see proof. But if you can't provide the proof, then it's clear in my mind that this virus is not going away. I want to just take a moment and go onto Twitter and see here if anyone is on our Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube pages here. So bear with me for just a moment. Okay. Nope, not over there. So bear with me for just a moment. Sorry, I'm waiting on my computer to load here. I just want to see if anyone is commenting on here. Okay, so as of right now, there is not. All right, so, and I'm here watching YouTube right now, so if anyone here on YouTube wants to comment their thoughts on this, I have the YouTube going as well here while I'm talking to you. So as I continue to mention this, my ongoing fact here, it's all about proof. Let's talk about the media again here for a moment. We have had a president who has constantly bashed the media. We watched a few weeks ago where the President Trump, was giving an interview on 60 Minutes. And in the middle of that interview, because he wasn't happy with how that interview was going, because he didn't like the questions, storms out because he wasn't happy with the questions. Is that presidential? You're the president of the United States. It's your responsibility to make an appearance make a good appearance to this country and be a leader. A leader does not storm out angrily in the middle of an interview given by a respectable journalist on CBS News, Leslie Stahl. That just doesn't happen. If you are a true leader, you don't do that. You finish the interview whether or not you like the questions. And from what we have seen time and time again, this president will give interviews to those that he likes, but not to who he dislikes. And yet, if he doesn't like a question, he goes off the deep end and continues in these conspiracy theories. We have a president who promotes white supremacy, but yet is okay, but will condemn terrorists across the world, but he won't get to condemn homegrown terrorism in this country, which is known as white supremacy. Back a couple years ago, we remember the famous events of Charlottesville, Virginia, where a young woman was killed during a white supremacy rally that turned violent and killed a woman. And what did President Trump say at the end of the day after the violence of that day? There were very fine people on both sides. Well, if there were very fine people on both sides, can you prove that to me and show that to me? Because I don't think a very fine person would go about killing someone by running someone over in a car. The person that was ran over, she might have been a very fine person. The person running over that person and killing that person is not a very fine person. Another point here with this president, and I'm not going to keep going on this. I'm going to get ready to slowly wrap this Zoom up for today, for now. And I'm going to want to keep this conversation going. So please feel free to comment your thoughts. This president has embraced dictators such as Vladimir Putin, North Korea's Kim Jong-un, but has attacked our own allies. He's attacked the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. I mean, what he has attacked leaders all over the world that are our allies, and yet he's befriended dictators. That's not what the United States is about. The United States is about coming together with our allies, being a democracy, and coming together as one country under God with liberty and justice for all. That's what the Pledge of Allegiance says. And yet we have a president that I don't think, in my opinion, that's only going to be in office for a little bit longer. understands that. This is not, running the country is not about him. As Joe Biden simply puts, as Joe Biden has simply put very much time and time again, that running for president is not running about, he's not running for Trump's family. He's not running for his own family. He's running for your family. He's running for my family. And that's what the important thing to understand here is. If we can't understand that, and that's what this election is about, then we really need to really re-examine what this country's values mean. And I invite you to tell me in the comments below on whatever platform you're watching this from, whether or not you're watching live with me, whether you're watching this video live or watching it after the fact. Comment below your thoughts on what does democracy mean? How has this COVID-19 pandemic impacted your life? I can speak on behalf of me that this COVID-19 pandemic has impacted my life in numerous ways. And I am not going to fully get into details on that right now. I can speak to the fact of what does a democracy mean to me? It means a country coming together and voting for who they believe is the right person to take either their country or whatever the office is that we're talking about. If it's the governor's office, if it's the mayor's office, if it's a state Senate seat, if it's a U.S. Senate seat, if it's a House of Representatives seat in Congress, whatever. It's about coming together and working together. Right now, what we see in Washington right now, specifically, the bickering between Democrats and Republicans is disgusting. Now is the time, maybe starting in January, to come together and work together and to make deals together. Do it for the good of this country. Don't do it for yourselves. To the representatives in the Senate, to our senators, to our representatives in Congress, you are not elected to be in this position for yourself. You are elected to be there for the people. And if you cannot be there for the people, then you do not deserve to be in political office. Just like how this president is right now, President Trump. President Trump did not win re-election because he does not, and I repeat my statement here, is not for the people of this country. He is for himself, and if he does not get his way, then it's nobody's way. And that's not how this country works. This country is about our freedoms. And President Trump, in my opinion, appears to not believe in those freedoms or knows what those freedoms are. So we need to really examine all of this closely. So I'm going to get ready to end this live video now because I think it's important. And I want you to keep thinking about these questions that I am posing to you. I'm going to again do another live video later today that has these questions again. And I want people to join, and I want you to answer these questions. I want you to think about it. If you're not watching live right now, I want you to answer these questions to the best of your ability and tell me what you think the answers are and why you believe the answers are the way they are. And if you have answers to my questions about the integrity of this election, please comment below on that too, because I'd like to hear your thoughts as well. So with that being said, this has been the Cultural Connections podcast. My name is Brian Ives. I'd like to hear one second as well. So with that being said, my name is Brian Ives, and I am the producer of the Cultural Connections podcast. Thank you for watching, and we will hope to see you later today as we continue this discussion on what makes America the greatest country in the world. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you in a few hours.
You've been watching the Cultural Connections Podcast 2020 Election Update. Stay